Shalom, peace, and blessings in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. I'm doing this video right here, this live, which is not going to be long. It's about this roast of Kevin Hart and black people, or so-called black people, are so outraged at some of the jokes that were written by people that may be, maybe racist, and they feel some type of way about that. But I want to take a different approach at this, at saying, let's first look at Hollywood in its inception, the people who created Hollywood, and why should so-called black folk, the diaspora, the Hebrews, why should we be upset, or why are you upset? See, if you knew the history of Hollywood, the treatment of early blacks back then, why are you upset? The children of Yazarel, the Hebrews, were not brought to these lands to prosper or have fun or anything like that. We were brought to these lands to work, right? We were brought to these lands, these places, through slavery and persecution, to work. So when I see people, so-called black folk, getting upset about, oh, he said something about this person, this black man that was a white person said it, a joke about this person, and they feel upset about it, they get very upset about it. I'm like, why? Do you not know the history? Do you not know that has always been like that in this country? Right? In other countries, once the Black Moors fell to the European power in 1492. So when you get upset because of jokes and things like that, why? It has always been like this, okay? So this is now what I'm talking about, is this roast right here of Kevin Hart. But I'm not going to talk about really the roast. I'm going to do it through a historical lens standpoint of how blacks have been treated by Hollywood in general. And we're going to examine and look into see who runs and who controls Netflix. But us black folk, we really don't like history, reading anything. We don't like a lot of things. We like things the way they are, and it will continue being like that. So I'm just going to look into not just this roast right here, but this who runs Hollywood. How have black people been being treated in Hollywood, right? It's nothing new. All right. This is a picture with Kevin Hart, and you see the devil horns right here with the rock right here. So you see the devil horns, so you already should know what this entails and what this is about, right? And what does that have to do? The devil horns right here, as the rock is doing. What does that have to do with us as a people today, historically? What has that to do with us? And why are black people, I should say, getting upset at one of the jokes that the so-called white person told? It's got so many people, oh, he shouldn't have said that. Well, they done more than that to our people, way more than that. Read the stories of Christopher Columbus. Read the stories of him and his person that said Christopher Columbus was so evil, so wretched, so vile to the indigenous people of the islands. Because you must understand that Christopher Columbus, whose real name is Christopher Colombo, never set foot in this land, in the United States, right? So someone wrote a joke, a racist type of joke, and most of the writers for this were all so-called white folks. But is that surprised? Is that surprising? Should you be surprised at that? He doesn't control anything. He's just told what to do, right? He doesn't control anything. He's told what to do. Now let's look into Hollywood right quick, all right? Because instead of getting on Kevin Hart, that doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I looked up who started Hollywood. In order to understand Netflix and the jokes that they told, like the racist tone of that whole night, you have to look into who control Hollywood, who started Hollywood. Hollywood was not created by a single person, but rather involved in two distinct phases as a real estate town and later as the global capital of the film history. So in order to understand Netflix, you have to understand, because Netflix is a major part of Hollywood. You have to understand who created Hollywood, right? The town real estate developer Harvey Wilcox and his wife laid out the town, right? Subdivision in 1887. Barker H.A. Whitley, known as the father of Hollywood, developed it into a upscale community and brought it utility. So we can see right here, or read right here, Hollywood, as it's called, it's not Hollywood is not something that was created by so-called black folk. Black people did not create Hollywood, right? So we didn't create it. So this is give you the backdrop to understand Netflix and to understand people feeling so upset because this so-called white guy, said a racist joke. But you have to realize and understand things like that, or more than that, worse than that, have been happening to, my people, black people, have been happening worse than that. Read the story of Christopher Colombo, what he did to those people and to those young children. They don't teach that in schools, right? I mean, reading from his own journals, his own books, his right-hand man, his first accounts of what the satanic, demonic things he was doing to our people, the indigenous people in all of the islands. Plagues, right? Diseases, eating children, right? Eating children. That was one of the things that Christopher Colombo was doing. And his men. He had a fetish for girls that were 12 years old and younger. Right? But we like to not know our history, because we don't get taught our history of the things and atrocities far worse than what this person said on this show. Was it racist? Yes. But that's not new. Now I'm looking into, because Netflix is a part of Hollywood, right? Netflix is a part of Hollywood. So to get mad or at one person or say, well, Kevin Hart, he should have said, or he should have done it. What is he going to do? He don't have no power. He's a puppet like the rest of them in the industry. They're all puppets, right? So I'm reading you about Hollywood because this person or these persons created Hollywood. So we already know that these people right here are not black people, right? This is the person right here. He's called Harvey. Let's see, Harvey Henderson Wilcox, right? I think he was called the father of Hollywood. This is a so-called white man. He's the father of Hollywood. And if you look at how blacks have been being treated, the Hebrews, the blacks have been being treated in Hollywood, this should not surprise you. Why get upset at something that someone said when it's been going on for hundreds of years? Right? Hundreds of years this has been going on. Okay, see? Whitley Ave, 700 North, the father of Hollywood. Right? The father of Hollywood, as they call him, the father of Hollywood. Right? So I see right now, all of this right here, all of these things right here, this person right here who's the father of Hollywood, I see that he's not a black man. Right? And when you go start looking at the history of Hollywood and everything, you see the treatment of black people is nothing new. Right? It's nothing new. See? Herbert Johnston Whitney, the father of Hollywood, October 7th, 1847 to June 3rd, 1931. Right? 1931. It's because in order to understand Netflix and why they approved racist comments and things, racist jokes and things like that in the name of, oh, it's freedom of speech and we can say these jokes and we can say these things about black people all we want. Well, black people, you have to realize who you are, right? Remember, our great forefather and ancestor is Moses, right? Whether you believe it or not. Moses said you're going to go into these lands and you're going to be at the bottom of every society worldwide. You're going to be scattered to all four corners of the earth. What nation of people does that fit? And it didn't say you're going to be and prosper and be millionaires and control stuff and run things. No, you're going to be at the bottom. Your children will be taken from you. They're not going to care about how old you are or how young you are, because you are going to turn, the Hebrews, the blacks, you're going to turn away from the Most High, Yahusha, in the New Testament, and you're going to go into slavery, persecution, and captivity because of your own doings. Right? Interracial marriage, the Most High was against and still is against. Interracial dating, he is still against. Necromancy, he is still against. Praying to the dead, he is still against. Eating pork, swine, everything that we do today, which is where our minds, our black folks, our minds are not on today. It's on sports. It's on our children, taking them to football practice and basketball practice and baseball practice, and not focusing on, you know what, in these last days and times, I should be trying to find Yahusha, right? Yahusha HaMashiach. But we're so brainwashed to be on, oh, what Netflix or what this person said, or we as a people should be focused on Yahusha or Yahuwah, right? This is the person. These are the Hollywood pioneers, right? You could just see on Google Images. These are the Hollywood pioneers, right? This is the other one that helped to create Hollywood. So in order to get upset at one person, because he don't have no power, he's a puppet, just like everybody else in Hollywood, right? This is another so-called, European or white man that helped to create Hollywood, which laid the groundworks for years later, something called Netflix, that is a huge part of Hollywood. So you must understand, this is white, so-called European, so-called white people or Caucasians, and no blacks were in the laying down the foundation process of Hollywood. So in order to understand Netflix and not to get upset, oh, because this person said this, well, you got to read the history or the historicity of the torture and the treatment of blacks worldwide when European power took over in 1492, right? These are the people right here, right? I haven't seen no black person yet. You have to understand the creators of Hollywood, right? This says Lemuel Lutheran. This is Fox, right? This is the person they say 20th Century Fox. This is Fox right here, right? 20th Century Fox. This is Goldwyn, Metro Goldwyn Mayer. These MGM. Right, I don't know what this said, but this is 20th Century Fox. This is Fox right here, the actual person, right? This is Goldwyn, MGM, right here. See? This is Warner. This is the person Warner of Warner Brothers, right? This is Mayer, MGM. And this is Zucker. I can't see what that says right there. It's too little. I need to get some glasses. But I'm saying all of this to show you that Netflix is based on the backdrop of Hollywood, right? It's based on the backdrop of Hollywood. So to get upset at one person, I'm saying people say Kevin Hart is it, blaming him, but what can he do? He's a puppet like everybody else in the industry. That's a fact, right? Okay, history. Now let's read this right here. History of Hollywood, beginnings of the Hollywood. Hollywood, as we know it today, started its life in the second decade of the 20th century with the rise of production facilities in South Carolina. They were created there by the numerous filmmakers who moved their businesses from New York in search of a more consistent climate for for around the year filming shooting. All right, so that's the people that created Hollywood, and they, you know, so in order to understand Netflix and the person that said the white person that said the racist jokes, you must know there's more history, way more history than him saying that. Right? Whatever he said about that person. All right. Hollywood. So what's the reason that Hollywood was made? Hollywood and the art of propaganda. Right? Hollywood and the art of propaganda. See, it's books. Hollywood propaganda. Hollywood propaganda is to send a message. It's always to send a message. Right? So those men that created something that they said called Hollywood for movies and it didn't have in the beginning no goodwill towards black people. Right? The Hebrews, the blacks. It was not created for something to have goodwill towards black folk. But if you don't know that, you go, oh, he said this joke and this person said this. Right? Hollywood, as a lot of people want to go to. I don't know why, because you're gonna have to worship the devil. Now I normally don't talk about this stuff, but I see it is all over everything. And they did it strictly for ratings. Like, one of the guys that they told him to be racist. So they did it strictly for the ratings. But, in these places, you have to worship the devil. It is what it is. All right. It says, now look, listen to this. The first feature-length film written, produced, and directed by a black filmmaker was The Homesteader, created by pioneer director Oscar Michiex and released in 1919. So we had a black filmmaker in 1919. It says because mainstream Hollywood, now listen to this, because mainstream Hollywood studios refused to hire black directors or tell positive. I just said that, right? So this is nothing new. So people are getting upset, do not know the history of their people. Black people we don't get taught our true history. Not the history in just this country, but the true history worldwide. Worldwide. The history that's not going to be in no movies. They're not going to make no movies about the rulership and the dominance of the black rulers, which had the so-called European, the so-called white people in slavery and in chains at one time in history. They're not going to tell that because it's Hollywood. And I just showed you and read to you who created Hollywood. About like 60 white people, so-called white people. Some call them Edomites. Right? So because mainstream Hollywood, so those men that I just showed you are mainstream. MGM, Fox, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, right? Because mainstream Hollywood studios refuse to hire black directors or tell positive, multi-factored stories about black Americans, Michiex, this black person back then, founded his own production company to write and distribute his work, operating largely independent of the traditional Hollywood system, right? He went on to direct over 40 films spanning 3 decades. So if we read Hollywood in the early days, in the inception, it had no good will or good intentions towards black people, towards people of color, to tell our story, stories of rulerships. The Black Moors ruled the entire planet. So he took it upon himself and made the movie The Homesteader, and it was released in 1919. So what you see on the Netflix comedy, the roast of Kevin Hart, and they're saying racist jokes, is that something new? If you know history, no, that's not new. That's been around for hundreds of years, decades, right? It's been around for decades. Racism, and no, we're going to take all of y'all, what y'all are, and just make everything us. All history is going to become us. All black history, I'll say 80% of black history is going to be whitewash. That's during the Renaissance period. The Renaissance period is called iconoclasm, the whitewashing of all blackness, or mostly all blackness, 80% of all blackness. Don't take my word for it. Look up the Renaissance. Look up humanism. Right? So it was been like this because mainstream Hollywood studios, who's mainstream? I just read the white men. Metro, Golden Mare, Fox, 20th Century Fox. This is the foundation of Hollywood, which Netflix is a part of, a major part of. So when you see people saying racist things, don't be surprised. We're the people of the Most High. You don't think they know that, right? So black people have been not been treated right. The Hebrews, the so-called blacks, have been not been treated right in Hollywood, right? Right? The Homesteader, this is his movie right here that Hollywood rejected. The Homesteader, an all-star Negro cast. So is it something new that someone says racist jokes? A white person get up there, or European or Caucasian get up there and say racist things? Is it something new? This black man right here created his own movie because back then, Fox, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, all of them said no to it. No, we ain't gonna tell nothing positive or nothing happy or glorious about black people. All y'all gonna be is slaves, Africans, right? I know y'all's got us. I know, right? So the Homesteader and Negro all-star Negro cast, right? It's not nothing new that people will get on these things and say racist things about black people or say things very offensive. This is Hollywood. The devil, the people that worship the devil control Hollywood. It is what it is. They putting it in the movie. This is the guy right here. This is the black Hebrew, or the man right here that Hollywood back then in 1919, we don't want to have nothing to do with nothing black. Make your own stuff. He said, okay, I'm going to do my own independent thing. I'm going to tell some stories about ourselves. Right? Oscar Metriux, right? The Homesteader. Is it really anything new? Is it really anything new that white people, or so-called white people, or Caucasians, or their biblical name, Edomites, right? Is it anything new that they will say? This is not nothing new to me. If you know the past and what happened in the past, but I'm giving you the backdrop of Hollywood. So when you think about Netflix, it's not a separate entity from Hollywood, because who controls Hollywood? Nobody that look like him, right? Who controls Hollywood, right? All right, these are an Oscar, by the way, when they get the Oscars, it's named by a black man, by the way. The Homesteader right here, an all-star Negro cast, right? Because the whites back then that were running Hollywood back then said, oh no, we're not gonna have no black stuff. Y'all just gonna be slaves, pickaninnies, mammies. Y'all gonna be servants, working in the field or whatever. We're not gonna portray anything of y'all in y'all light that y'all used to be, which was royalty, right? Perkins Theater, the Homesteader, right? Right? It says in the 1930s, blacks had limited opportunities in Hollywood that I just now said. The majority of black people on film could only be seen in race films designed for all black audiences. Those who did break into movies for white audiences were relegated to subservient or stereotypical roles, right? That I just now said. Stereotypical roles. So when you think about what's going on with the whole Kevin Hart Netflix thing in Hollywood, you got to know that Hollywood, as Chris Rock said a couple years ago, it is racist. He said, hell yeah, it's racist. Yes, it is. So what's so surprising about Netflix hiring mostly, I would say 80% of all European or white writers, or their Bible name, Edomite writers, to say these jokes, so-called jokes, disguised as, hate or hatred or racism? I'm not upset about nothing that guy said. Why be upset when I know the past and I know I can look right at the history, right? I can look right at the history, right? So this is how the black actors were getting treated. Those who did break into movies for white audiences were relegated to subservient or stereotypical roles. What has really changed from then to today? Right? I guess it changed a little bit, right? But when you think about it, right? It says Freddie Washington refused to pass for white to further her career in 1930s Hollywood. So if you know this history, if you know this past, this is a black woman. She's light skinned. Might have come from mixed parents, or I don't know. But there's black people that have children that come out looking like this. I mean, jet black. See, Freddie Washington refused to pass for white. See, so has Hollywood, the founders. Does it mean that they're racist because they're the one that created it? It was for them to show their life, or to everything. Black stories were to be made white stories. Whitewash, iconoclasm, not only in movies, not only in paint and ink and paintings, but also in movies and what you see. That's why it was created. The propaganda is everything has always been white. Everything. All kings, all rulers, everything. Even in the heart of Africa, ancient Egypt, Persia, everything. Everybody was just European, Caucasian, or pale skin or pink skin. It's always been us ruling all the time. And that's the story that we're going to tell. Remember when the Europeans, when they defeated the Black Moors in 1492 in Spain, remember the Moors, right? Who were taken down in Russia, in Prussia, in Germany, in France, all over the world. The blacks were taken down due to prophecy in scripture. Now they say we got this thing called tell-lie vision, right? Tell-lie vision. And now that we're going to lay the foundation for the whole world to make everything has always been all about us. We've always been the rulers, the inventors, the creators of everything. And now we're going to make our movies. We're going to make our movies based on what the blacks, who they really are and the things that they created. We are going to take that now and make it all us, everything. And that is what they have done. So it wasn't, Hollywood was not created for black people to prosper. Oh, no, no, no. If you think that it was something meant to be even platform, they told this light-skinned looking black woman right here, Freddie Washington, she refused to pass for white. So that means they was going to put more makeup on her to further. So you had to be white to further your career. Just let that sink in. So why would you be upset about the Netflix thing? I'm saying black people. Why be upset about that? Who control Netflix is a part of Hollywood. Part of Hollywood. So why are you upset if you know the history, right? See, Judy Garland. I think Judy Garland is a white woman, and everybody's saying 1938, right? Judy Garland was a child star in blackface and pushed into roles under heavy studio pressure, right? So this is nothing new. What's new about this? If you understood and knew Hollywood, you wouldn't be upset because somebody got on the roast of Kevin Hart, and a lot of those so-called white people started, saying racist things. Let's read this right here. Treatment of blacks in early Hollywood. Okay. It says in early Hollywood, black actors face severe discrimination, systematic exclusion, and widespread typecasting. Studios routinely use white actors in blackface and relegated black performers to demeaning, subservient stereotypes such as Mammy, the royal servant, Tom, or the slow-witted buffoon. Why is black people so upset about the Netflix thing? If you know Hollywood, Netflix is a major part of Hollywood, right? And this is in the 1920s and the 1930s, 1919. That black man that created his own over 40 movies he created because Hollywood, right? And we already went through this together. The creators of laying the groundwork or the foundation for Hollywood, which was all people that were not black. They were all so-called white people who created Hollywood. And back then, Hollywood said, mainstream Hollywood said, and Hollywood, no black stuff. We're going to keep y'all as slaves. We're going to keep y'all as mammy and pappy, like you kind of dumb and slow and all this other stuff. We're not going to never let nobody make no movies about when you guys used to rule over us, ever. Right? It says the blackface era. Before the 1930s, the film industry heavily relied on minstrel stage practices, white actors and burnt cork makeup, right? Like Al Johnson and the jazz soup singer appreciated black cultures while refusing to employ actual black actors, right? For major roles. So if you know this, because we're not taught our real black history. Black history is not 1 month. Black history is worldwide. It's years. Because you got to go back to the ancient Egyptian dynasty, Assyrian, Persian, Medes, Purge. You got to go all the way back. All the way back. It's just not about the inventors who were brought here on slave ships from London, England, Britain, France, the creators, the inventors, right? And we just learn about them people. So when you think about Netflix, you have to think about Hollywood. Who controls, who runs and who controls Hollywood, right? To be mad at having Kevin Hart is silly to me, because he don't really run or control anything. He's just a puppet that follows orders as the other actors and actresses does, right? So this is just a little backdrop of Hollywood, because Netflix is a part of Hollywood, right? Netflix is a part of Hollywood. Institutional propaganda. D.W. Griffith, The Birth of a Nation, 1915, weaponized cinema to glorify the KKK, painting black men as either dangerous, savages, or ignorant politicians. The film's unprecedented commercial success normalized blatantly racist imagery. I need glasses. Imagery. So why are you, if you're a black person and say, oh, I'm so upset about what that white guy said about the black man that was murdered by a cop. I'm so upset about that they shouldn't do that. Why are you surprised? A Birth of a Nation was what year? 1915. The creators of Hollywood, right, were racist towards a lot of black people. So they say, you know what? I want to act out. No, we don't want to know your story. And why did they see black people like this? Because the Moors ruled them. At one time in history, the Moors, the black Arabs, the Muslims, and some of them were Hebrews, ruled this entire planet at one time in history, in the past, through prophecy and scripture. Then you had the Holy Roman Empire, King James, black. All of them were black. Constantine was black. In my other videos, there's images of Constantine and the Nicene Council. The Holy Roman Empire fell to European rule, right? And once the European power is defeated by the Most High, he allowed this to happen, right? He allowed these things to happen. And then they forced us, all mostly blacks all over the world, to become Christian, right? And to believe in the image of the European image and version of my black savior, Yahusha, whom the world calls Jesus or Isus, I-E-S-U-S, right? Read the stories. I implore you, I encourage you, read Christopher Columbus's writings of the torturous things he was doing to black people, the indigenous people on all of the islands. On all of the islands. Right? It says slavery, Hollywood, and public discourse. Right? Slavery, Hollywood. Why did these go together? Slavery, Hollywood, and public discourse. Writing history of like racism in early Hollywood. Why is anyone I'm reading these things to let you know about early Hollywood, early 1919, 1925, 19. This is nothing new. So to get upset because so for black people to get upset at a so-called white person and say that, oh man, I'm so upset that he said this, they were saying this, they were saying such a, why don't you know your history? Black person, why don't you know your own history? Right? Why don't you know your own history? Why haven't you read the Chronicles of Christopher Columbus or Cristoforo Colombo, his brother Colombo? They were evil demons. They were satanic demons on a blood drinking baby, infant, doing whatever they wanted to do, eating children. Read the book, and you would not be surprised at what they say on, for ratings, right? Let's read this right here. While the film is talking about Birth of a Nation. While the film is indeed a work of fiction, the heroic portrayal of the KKK struck such a nerve with the American people. We could just stop right there. Just stop right there. Is that anything new? Is that new? Talking about, okay, I can see it better. While the film is indeed a work of fiction, this heroic portrayal of the Klan struck such a nerve with the American people. What American people you think it's talking about, right? What do you think the American people, that it single-handedly created a rebirth of an organization that had been dead since 1870, right? For the original Klan, while created to target northern carpet beggars and tried to prevent blacks from voting, eventually great to violent to include lynching blacks, and so all of these things, I need glasses basically, was in these movies right here. And it was created, I guess they said, for not voting, to scare blacks away from not voting. But when you talk about this Kevin Hart special, and when you talk about Netflix, who like 80% of the writers for the roast of Kevin Hart was all white people, so-called white people. Biblical name Edomites, biblical name Edomites, the people that God said I hate, So why are you surprised if black people, if you knew your history, mostly a lot of your history, if it was taught to you or to us in school, right? We've just minding our business, right? And these happen. About black massacres and critical for understanding the systematic roots of inequality, confronting racial injustice, acknowledging the full, often violent scope of American history. These events were not isolated incidents, but in many cases, state-sanctioned acts of white supremacists, violence aimed at destroying black wealth, political power, and communities. Right? So it says black massacres. Black Wall Street is a part of it. Chicago, 1919. Springfield, 1908. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. Vicksburg, 1874. Right? Philip. Right? All these places right here. I see people asking me some crazy questions. People just do not like history. You don't have to be a part of nothing to do your own history, do your own independent research. Before I get upset at somebody, I'm going to go into the past. I'm called a so-called black person, but before I'm going to get upset about what somebody said, which is controlled by people that don't look like me. Hollywood is controlled by people that don't look like me. They're not black. So why am I getting upset at what somebody said? And they control Hollywood. They run and control Hollywood. Right? It don't make no sense to me. Okay, this woman right there, I believe her name is Hattie McDaniel, made history in 1940 as the first African American to win the Academy Award, taking home the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Segregated at the Oscars. All right, the ceremony took place at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, which had a strict no black policy. right? No blacks policy. She was only allowed entry as special permission and was found forced to sit at a small segregated table away from her white uh, castmates. Is that surprising? Is that really surprising? Oh, this person said this because it's ratings for a lot of people. Oh, this person said this. This white person said this about this black man that was murdered. He shouldn't have said that. I'm upset and this and that. Why? Why be upset? Who controls Hollywood? Who runs Hollywood and controls Hollywood? And who are you? You don't even know who you are, black person. Who controls Hollywood? Is it anybody that look like us that controls Hollywood? You see, this woman just got an Oscar, and they still had a strict no blacks policy. Maybe if she was light skinned, like that other woman, maybe banned from the premiere. So she was in the movie, but banned from the premiere because of Jim Crow laws. She was strictly prohibited from attending the 1939 National Movie Premiere in Atlanta, Georgia. Right? So why are you shocked or upset, black person? Why are you so upset? Oh man, I'm upset. Oh, I'm so upset. Why? I showed you the founders and the creators that created something that they call Hollywood. Who knows if they stole it from a black obscure person back then? Who knows? But they the ones that laid down this whole Hollywood thing. And it wasn't for no black person to prosper or for them to tell any good stories about black people. Any good stories about us. But we're going to be in subservient, stereotypical roles. We're going to be mammy and pappy. What makes you so upset about a roast of somebody that's a part of something and he's a puppet? I already showed you the images of the people, right? Hattie McDaniel was the first black person to win an Oscar for her supporting role in Gone with the Wind in 1940. Right? In 1940. But she wasn't even allowed into the premiere. Right? So why are you surprised? Is this something new? It's been like this. Is this new? Oh, you did so good, but you know what? You can't sit with the whites. You got to sit all the way over there by yourself. Right? That's the black section over there. All by yourself. So when you think of Netflix, you got to know that Netflix is a part of Hollywood. It's a part of Hollywood. Right? Hattie McDaniel, 1895 to 1952, made history in 1939 as the first black American nominated to win the Academy Award, earning Best Supporting Actress for Gone with the Wind, right? She and her escort were forced to sit at a segregated table during the ceremony, right? McDaniel defended her role as Mammy, saying she understood the character, though her grandmother's lived experience, right? Through her experience, I should say. Her grandparents lived through her experience, right? Racism and all these other things has been in Hollywood since the inception of, oh, you know what? We're going to make a huge propaganda machine. We're going to make a huge propaganda machine. And, you know, we're going to say everything is all us. It's always been all white people, all in history. Everything has always been us. It's all about us. That's what they created, right? Early portrayals of black people in Hollywood. It says early portrayals of black people in Hollywood is something I looked up. Early portrayals of black people in Hollywood were largely defined by ministry and white supremacy, right? Emerging from the 1830s stage tradition, mainstream studios and relied on white actors in blackface to depict racist characteristics of African Americans as dim-witted, lazy, hypersexual, and subservient. Right? So why is this anything new? I'm only talking about this because it's all over everywhere. Everybody is talking about this Netflix. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people on social media is all over the place. And I'm just thinking, like, black people don't know that this has been going on in what's called Hollywood, racism, and all these other things. I'm reading to you the people. I started this live off by reading the people that created so-called what they call Hollywood. And none of them is black, right? None of them is black. That tells you right there with this, from the tone, that tells you that, oh, this is not something for me. Is they created this for themselves, right? To further push the image of is all white people. We were all rulers, we were all kings, we were all Egyptians, we were all everything. It's all history, and all the passage is always about us. That's why they created Hollywood. And if you want to be a black person and want to be a part of this, then you have to bow down. You have to be subservient to what we want you to be, which is a stereotypical role. See, early portrayals of black people in Hollywood were largely defined by ministry and white supremacy, right? That says it right here, right? These depictions were firmly cemented across several distinct themes. Anybody can look this up and read it. I'm just doing my research. Why would I get upset at what somebody said in 2026 when I can go and read about what was going on in Hollywood in 1919? In 1919. So I'm not going to get upset at, oh, it's Kevin Hart, or this white person said this. Why? They've been like that. Why? It's in Hollywood. Netflix is a part of Hollywood, right? And Hollywood were largely defined by ministry and white supremacy. What does that mean to you? Emerging from the 1830s stage tradition, mainstream studios relied on white actors in blackface to depict racist characteristics of African Americans as dim-witted, lazy, hypersexual, and subservient. Why am I upset? As a so-called black person, what am I upset about? Okay, the white person got up there and said a bunch of them said some a lot of racist stuff. And they mask it by saying, oh, it's the roast. You know, a comedian's freedom of speech. I should say what I want to say, right? White actors in blackface, early cinema heavily forced minstrel stereotypes such as the 1903 Uncle Tom's Cabin adaptation, later D.W. Griffith, The Birth of a Nation, 1915, used blackface to depict emancipated black men as violent brutes, helping the KKK gain widespread sympathy. Just let that sink in. So what a racist person said in 2026, why would I be upset at him? They always been like that. That's Hollywood. This is Hollywood in 1919, 1920, 1930. What's going to change, right? These are some of the early portrayals right here. See, racism in Belgium comics, right? It wasn't only Hollywood, it spread all over, right? See, this is nothing new. Racism and system choice notes. See, not only was it in Hollywood back then, but it was in comics. See, looks like Bugs Bunny. Anti-black imagery, Jim Crow Museum. I didn't even know it was something called the Jim Crow Museum, but these are supposed to be the blacks right there with big red lips. You know, like all black people look the same. Or they all look alike. All of them look the same. Thank you for the scriptures too. All of them look the same. A historical archive of the shameful racial abuses of Hollywood's again, yesteryear banned cartoons. So when somebody said, a so-called white man who's AKA Edomite, right? The red people, why am I getting upset at what he said? What racist things he said when Hollywood has been like this? And Netflix is a part of Hollywood, right? Difference between how the East and the West depicted black people in animation history. Looks like it's no difference, right? Right? Racism in animation, the Museum of Uncut Funk, right? So these are old drawings, old cartoons that used to come on television, right? Remember, I'll stand for none of your friendly. So this is how it looks like all black people were portrayed, like all black people look alike. Everybody, all blacks look alike. They all look the same, right? See, all of them were black, dark skin. I think they were saying a lot of the slaves, the Africans and the indigenous aboriginal people that was here, right? Texting racist art and all this other stuff. I'm just showing you this to say there's nothing new. Nothing new. He's black baby drinking ink. It's nothing new, right? Redrawing racist art, part 8. Why are black people so surprised when, oh, he said this? Dangerous black man, right? Remember, the blacks used to rule over the whites. The whites used to be enslaved and they used to sell their women to other black rulers because the black rulers said they loved that pale skin. It's written down. It's not me saying it. They said they loved that pale skin, and that's how the Moors fell. The black Moors were sleeping with the Caucasian women, right? And they were murdering them in their sleep. Slowly but surely, kingdom started falling, right? Interracial mixing. But these are offsets or offsprings of, Hollywood. You see it on TV. You see, stereotypical, what we just now read. It was forced to. See, Scarlet Black Archive, all right? Cartoon. This was a cartoon, an old-fashioned necking party. See, cartoon. Do you take this woman? Right? Just so this is from Rutgers University right here. Scarlet and Black Digital Archive. This is from Rutgers University, right? A frosted chocolate, right? A frosted chocolate, right? So when you think about the Netflix thing, just think about Hollywood, because Netflix is a part of Hollywood. The history of Coon Chicken Inn. Wow, I never heard of this before. Coon Chicken Inn, famous, right? These things right here, racism as a commodity, nothing new. Aunt Jemima, right? Aunt Jemima. Race and all these things. This is in 1922 right here, right? Now, Whistle. You remember you heard, I don't know if you ever heard this cartoon by, was it Disney? And that's a whole nother evil thing. Disney cartoons. And Snow White was saying, whistle while you work. You remember that cartoon, Snow White? Well, this is where the whistle come from. The whistle walk was the walk leading from the kitchen to the house. Enslaved people were required to whistle as they walk, as whistling and chewing are incompatible simultaneous actions. It will also ensure that they did not eat or spit in masses food on the way to serve, right? On the way to serve, right? So just think about that. All of these things. Remember, the stock market was black slaves. Wall Street, black slaves. Layaway plan, black slaves. What else? Any term that you could think of like that? Black slaves. Right? Washing the Blackamoor race. Didn't I just say Didn't I just say the Moors? The Moors ruled these people right here. So when they took over in 1594, said we're going to force them to Christianity. When they started taking over in 1494, then the Renaissance period followed, because the Dark Ages were when the Moors were ruling. The Dark Ages is when the black Moors ruled, and they loved the pale skin of the white woman. It's nothing new. Or the Chinese women, the ones that were light skinned. It's nothing new. It's written down. It's written down, right? So when these looking people, the European people, took over, they said that all these blacks are savages, always highly sexual and all this other stuff, right? Washing the Blackamoor race. Then that's what they did, whitewashing. Moors are just Americans. See? American reference. Moors, Moro, Moor, Moorish, right? Moru, right? Moor, Atlantic or North American, not Indian. So they say, not Indian. Chief, Indian means the indigenous people of America, right? They rule the planet, right? 1936, over 20,000 gathered in Owensboro to watch this person executed, right? Executed, right? See, know your history. Memorial Day started by former slaves on May 1st in 1865 in Charleston, South Carolina, to honor 257 dead black people. So after the whites digged a huge hole in the ground, pushed all of the black dead soldiers in there, right? These people right here, the blacks right here, it was their families. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to give you an honor burial. We're going to honor you at your burial. And they put down tombstones, and they did, however they did it. They might have put a cross down, but they buried them and they marched down the town. That was the Memorial Day, the first day of Memorial Day, started by black people. Again, everything started by black people, but then they'll take all the credit for it. Because why? Because history, I should say prophecy, and the Bible, the scriptures said that it's going to happen. He said, I'm going to let these people rule over you, right? Did Moses lie? Did the Christ lie? Did Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, did they lie? Micah, Amos? They didn't lie. They said us black people were wicked, evil, rotten to each other. All throughout Old Testament. All throughout Old Testament. We, as a people, did not want to keep the 613 laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh to lead us and abide for us over our lives. We did not want to do that. We wanted to be like the enemies. We wanted to sleep with the women outside our race. We was into man-on-man behavior. We was into woman-on-woman behavior. We were prostituting our children. Read the book of Jeremiah. We were doing many evil, wicked, vile, and rotten things to each other. We were praying to false deities. Right? We were praying to demons and devils. We were having sex orgies. And giving in the springtime, and then at the end of the year, we would give our babies to Moloch. Right? We would sacrifice our children. We became a rotten, wicked people. And wonder why this the way it is today. We eat pork. We eat swine. We eat shrimp. I'm talking about black folk. We eat crabs. We eat lobsters. We do everything that's not right today. Why? Because Moses said through Yahusha, whom the world calls Jesus, you're going to forget everything about me. So Memorial Day right here. I just put this in here because Memorial Day just passed, but it was something to black people did to honor their people, right? But now it's all about them. Black thing, all right? On the evening of March 21st, President Woodrow Wilson attended a special screening at the White House of The Birth of a Nation, a film which was directed by D.W. Griffin and based on a Klansman. Wow. A novel written by Wilson's good friend, Thomas Dixon. Read on to find out more about the birth. Right? So this is what they watched in the Hollywood, in the White House. Woodrow Wilson, the president. Oh, I really like this movie. This movie made an impact on me. The Post 10 must. It's all right. Oh, that's made a big impact. This is Woodrow Wilson right here. This is the president at that time, Woodrow Wilson, who was greatly moved by that movie. Like, wow, this is a work of art right here. We gotta start implementing this and bringing this back. Right? The birth of a nation. Right? See, in order to understand Netflix and why these people was allowed to say what they said, and use and mask it with, oh, this is just jokes. This is what his roast is about. You got to be able to take it. You got to be able to take these jokes. We don't really mean nothing by it. Okay. But when you look at Hollywood, right, which Netflix falls under, they're like hand in hand. You got to understand. All right. This is history that started from a very low point. If you consider D.W. Griffith, Birth of a Nation, as a cop movie in the story time frame, the post-Civil War Reconstruction period, modern policy barely existed. See, modern policing barely existed, like police. Thus, the nascent KKK are depicted as the valiant vanguard of law, right? And order galloping in to rescue white folks from the marauding blacks and reestablishing good old white supremacy. When was it good old white supremacy? I want to know that. Maybe it's talking about when they took over in 1492. This was institutional racism in its most brazen and heroic form, and you could say popular culture has been rowing back and forth from it ever since. So ever since this movie came out, right? Ever since this movie came out, that's where a lot of directors and a lot of, white people, directors, got ideals for blackface and all this other stuff because of this movie, right? Colored moving pictures, right? The realization of a Negro ambition at Lincoln Electric Park Monday and Tuesday. I don't see a year on here, but colored moving pictures. So black people were not invited into the fold of Hollywood. Especially Hollywood wasn't going to say nothing good about anybody black unless you were playing, as we read together, a stereotypical role of being mammy or pappy or just an out slave or somebody that's, somebody that want their women, right? Okay, so it says this one: McQueen did not attend because blacks were not allowed in the theater. The first time Gone with the Wind premiere, McQueen could not attend because blacks were not allowed in the theater. Oh, that's nothing. That's who's surprised at that, right? Right? Black cowboys. The most common image of the cowboy is a gun-toting, boot-wearing white man like John Wayne or Clint Eastwood. But the Hollywood portrayal of the Wild West is a whitewashed version of reality. And though African American or Hebrew cowboys don't play a part in the popular narratives, historians estimate that's 1 in 4. So these are the original cowboys. But, like I said, like history says, I don't say nothing, I just read. Like history says, the original cowboys were black, right? Contrary to Hollywood, black slaves were America's first cowboys. You see that right there? Black slaves were America's first cowboys. The word cowboy originally had nothing to do with roping cattle and hell raising in the high plains. The word cowboy grew out of social customs that did not allow black males to be addressed as Mr. or men. Boy was a derogatory term for a black male that included cowboy, houseboy, field boy, stable boy. Thousands of black cowboys were lawmen, buffalo soldiers, ranchers, farmers. Few or far are found in history books, right? So when you think about Hollywood, see, contrary to Hollywood, who's a part of Hollywood? Netflix. Who's a part of Hollywood? Netflix, right? Addressed as Mr., men, boy. Yeah, I just read that right here. This is just says thousands of black cowboys were lawmen, buffalo soldiers. You hear this right here? Thousands of black cowboys, which you'll never see in Hollywood movies. Because remember, reading together, right? We read this together. And I want to thank everybody that's here. If you like this content, you can like it, subscribe it, or share this, See, houseboy, field boy, stable boy. Thousands of black cowboys were lawmen, buffalo soldiers, ranchers, farmers. Few are found in history books. And I wonder who's writing the history books, right? Who's writing the history books? So when you think about Netflix and you're so upset at, these white comedians said these racist and evil things, Hollywood, they're a part of Hollywood, all right? The toughest cowboy to ever live was a black man named Bass Reeves. He captured over 3,000 criminals. He is the man Hollywood portrayed or patterned the Lone Ranger stories off of. Remember that show called The Lone Ranger? Well, this is the real Lone Ranger. But as we read earlier, together, Hollywood had no intent of telling any truth about anybody black, but to say that all y'all just slaves and savages and this and that. We're not never going to tell that you ruled over us at one time in history. We're never going to say that. Between the 1870s and 1880s, as many as 25% of the 35,000 cowboys in the Old West were what? Black. They were all black. Most of them were black, right? But we'll never know that because they'll never make no movies about that. It might have been 2 movies made. One by Mario Van Peebles and I think somebody else. Maybe 3 movies that Hollywood approved of. Right? So when you get up, black person, when you call yourself getting upset, do your history lesson. Do your history lesson. Read. Look up the story of who created Hollywood. Who was it created for? Who created? Who was it was created by? Right? Jack Daniels whiskey was created by an enslaved black American named Nearest Green. He taught Jack Daniels how to make it, and the Daniels brand had made millions. Happy Black History Month. That's sarcastic. This is Nearest Green right here. This is Jack Daniels, the liquor that everyone loves so much. You're not going to see no movie about this. You're not going to never see no Hollywood movie about the Jack Daniels right here, right? Or a Netflix special about this black man right here, right? You're never going to see that. They never going to make no movies about that. The real cowboys, right? It's never going to happen. Because the people that created Hollywood, right, had no goodwill towards us black folk. You're going to be slaves. You're going to be stereotypes, as we read, right? Oscar, I read this earlier, 1884 to 1851, the first major black filmmaker. The Oscar is named after him. When they get the Oscar for, I forgot what it is that they get an Oscar in, but it's named after him. This black man that's who the Oscar is named after, if you didn't know it. Created over 40 independent films when Hollywood excluded black actors. So you're still going to be upset at what this person said at the Cat Williams roast, right? Are you still going to? I said Cat Williams. I mean Kevin Hart roast. Are you still going to be upset about that? If you know who created Hollywood and what Netflix is a part of, it's always been racist. Anybody can look it up and see. Okay, it says, did you know that the movie Avatar is about the European invasion of Africa? Everything is about black people, if you didn't know. Europe, you see the blue? This is where they get the whole thing from right here. Muscle in your back. You've probably never heard. This music said no ads, but the ads are just keep coming on, you know? Right? And I don't have nothing against nobody. I don't hate nobody. I just go from a historical, biblical standpoint on life, right? Did you know, in case you haven't noticed, Avatar was created based on the Nilotic people of Africa from South Sudan to northern Kenya. The Nilotic people are the tallest and darkest people in the world today. So the movie that you love, I love that movie Avatar. Well, it's based on, everything is based on black people, but whitewashed, right? Did you know, I used to watch this show, Star Trek, right? In case you haven't noticed, Hollywood In case you haven't noticed, Hollywood regularly draws inspiration from African cultures for many of its movies. It says Hollywood, right? See? Here you can see a Star Trek character created based on the scarification techniques from the same Central African tribes. In Africa, scarification is used for medical, religious, or antiseptic purposes. So that's where they get it from, right? Oh, you're not a part of we don't really want to do anything or give you anything, for real. I remember one of the girls that played on Martin, that show that used to come on with Martin Lawrence, was getting 36 cents in residual, she was saying. That's why they keep you working, all right? Chris Rock, I believe this is in 2016, right? 2016, when he hosted the Oscars, when he hosted, as they call the Oscars, named after a black person, he said, Chris Rock said in 2016 Oscars, you're damn right, Hollywood is racist. Hollywood's racist. So why have black people or people in general have just forgotten about that? Why have you forgotten that? The creators and the founders of Hollywood had no intent on, putting any black people in any good light, right? Chris Rock's Oscar monologue, damn right, racist. Hollywood's racist. You think he's lying? So I'm not surprised when I see roasts on Netflix or any other show where they saying a bunch of bad racist jokes in the name, oh, it's just comedy. Don't judge me. This is what we do. It's just comedy. Right? These are most of the people that were doing the writing. It's like 17 people, and like I think 5 of them or 3 of them is black. But these are like the main ones that recycle a lot of their writing. Are you surprised? Am I surprised? No, I'm not. I don't know why I got the same picture. This person right here that plays on Saturday Night Live pulled out of Kevin Hart roast before shading white writers for jokes about slavery, sex, crimes, and slurs. He pulled out of it. He said, no, I don't want to be a part of that. If that's the only way we got to talk to get some laughs, to get ratings, it's a lot of other things that we can talk about. Right? It's like every time you roast, or they say roast a black person, it's always got to be racial stuff. Okay, let's do a roast celebrating the career of the most successful black people in the last 10 years. And then they got most of these people to write the jokes. All right? Well, these are names of them, but this is a black guy that wrote some of the jokes. This is a guy that wrote some of the jokes right here. Another black guy. That was 2, I think I counted. But then I stopped. I think it was like 3 of them all together. Or 3 or 4 black people that wrote it. Right? Cream of wheat, the food you never tire of. Right? These are more of the, Hollywood, and then the things that came from it right here. See? 1923, cream of wheat. Aunt Jemima, it says pancake maker right here. Right? Homecoming. These are things right here. Magazines, Hollywood. You go back in the past, Hollywood, right? These are the certain things right here, the commercials or different things that they were selling. Longwood, Atlanta, syrup, these oysters right here, tobacco right here, This is oysters again, right? These are just different things that was used as, wash away the blackness right here, see? Right? If you go back, you can't be upset at nobody. I mean, you can do what you want to do. You can be upset, but you have to know who controls things and who runs things. Who controls Netflix? Who created Hollywood, as we read together? Who controlled Hollywood? What was their focus in the beginning, as we read together? And it wasn't nothing to glorify or push up anybody black. Anybody, right? These things right here were created on commercials and stuff like that. Tar soap and, the original name for the SOS pad before it was changed. See? SOS, it used to be this before SOS, right? Minstrel. We read a lot about minstrel. What early Hollywood wanted to push the stereotype on to, if you black and then you in Hollywood and you in movies that white audiences can see, as we read, it's nothing that I'm saying. As we read, it's nothing that I'm saying. It's what they wrote. You're going to be either mammy, pappy, or slave, or dumb, slow talking, or stupid. That's what they said. Coon Chicken Inn, which was an actual place. See? Alabama Coon. All these different things right here. Licorice, cigarettes, hair, long hair, tobacco, plaza. All of these things right here were daily. Mammy right there. Mammy brand. So why are you surprised at the whole industry of Hollywood or why are you surprised at any of this right here? Shrimp right here, right? Some people said I was talking about another time. Now this is what he was talking about when he was on, but he doesn't control or run anything. You get signed, you have to, see, speaks out of the controversial thing right here of the joke. People are upset that he was laughing, you know. But you got to know who created Hollywood, why was it created, and who created it. Wasn't anybody that his complexion that created Hollywood. People just, like to get upset at the truth. All you got to do is read. All you have to do is open up books, find the books, do your own independent research. Why are black people getting upset at him, want to cancel him? Hollywood, Netflix is a part of Hollywood. So what do you expect those people to say? This right here is the owner or the CEO of Netflix, right? He controls Netflix and runs Netflix right now. Netflix founder Reed Hastings is $1 billion richer since the year it started. Right? So he's the one that controls Hollywood. Oh, he looks just like the people that created Hollywood. They all look like the same people that created Hollywood. Right? And they they said it. Nothing that I'm saying. Somebody want to be upset at me, be upset at history, be upset at what they wrote down for people to read. It's not my fault if you don't want to read and just want to go off your emotions or your feelings. I don't go off of feelings and emotions. I go right back to the past. Who created Hollywood? Who and what was it created for? And who was it created for to prosper? Was it black people that created Hollywood? No. Was it black people that created Hollywood for themselves to prosper? No. It doesn't say that. You can try to change it and get emotional. I said, is Netflix a part of Hollywood? Yes, Netflix is deeply integrated into Hollywood. And everything that we have been reading about Hollywood, right? The people, the founders that created it. Is yes. See, I said, is Netflix a part of Hollywood? I already know it is, but I just wanted to read it. Yes, Netflix is deeply integrated in Hollywood, right? So into Hollywood. It is one of the most powerful production studios in the industry. Headquarters in Los Angeles and serves as a full-fledged member of the Motion Picture Association. So when you think about the founders and the creators of Hollywood, none of them were black, right? None of them were black. And they had created it as we read. It's not me just writing upset comments or being angry in my feelings and my emotions. I read together with anyone that was here from the beginning that it was created for themselves to prosper and to paint an image, a lie that says that everything was always white, European, pale skin. We were always ruling all throughout history. We were all the kings. We were all the queens. We were everything in history. That is just simply not the truth. But that's something that they created for themselves to prosper. Right? Prosper how? In the minds of anyone that's watching them. Because in the 1400s or the Dark Ages, black Moors ruled. The Moors ruled the entire planet. European power, due to the Bible, due to scriptures, the Edomites would take over again, as they have been taken over for the last 500 years or something. So if you know that history, biblical history, world history, you're not going to be surprised at anything that anyone, I'm saying so-called white person, Bible name Edomite, allegedly, so-called white person would say. You would just know that, okay, well, prophecy and history and scripture is being fulfilled. Why am I upset? Why do I feel unease or some type of way? Why am I upset because someone white in 2026 made fun or a joke of a black man that was murdered by a white police officer? Well, sir, ma'am, that's been going on for hundreds of years. That's nothing new. You do know that, right? You are aware of that, right? That's nothing new. He just said it, but if you look at the history, the past, this country and worldwide, that has been happening to blacks all over for many, many years. Right? I never gotten a book report of the Moors and when I went to school. Ever. Okay, this is King James right here. King James was a black man. Right? He spoke 5 different languages. He was a Moor and he was a Jacobite. Right? I don't know what. See, this right here is part of the Dark Ages when the Moors ruled the planet. Right? When the Moors ruled the entire planet. Moors and Muurs. Right? When they controlled the planet, it was different. The continents were different. Right? This is King James, a black man. Hold on. Whitewashed, he was changed to this person right here. Right? That's just like Hollywood, just like movies and everything. They were all kings, they were all queens, even in the heart of Africa. They were all kings and all queens at all times, at all point in history. That's why they made Hollywood to say, you know what? Everything the blacks were, that's what we were. We taking everything now. Then we everything. So when you look at TV, they got Jesus being black. Jesus being white, and then they have Lucifer being white. They got Jesus and Lucifer being white. In their mind, God, that's their God. God and the devil is both white. When that's simply not, well, Jesus is white, Caesar Borgia. He's a deception to the world, right? All right. And under this King James, 47 books, 47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars of the day were divided into 6 groups. 3 for the Old Testament and 2 for the New and 1 for the what? What books are these? The Apocryphal books, right? In 1611, 2 of the groups met at Oxford. So the book of the Black King James had the Apocryphal books. European power came. They took those books out between 1881 and 1894. So blacks, you will never know how certain things in the New Testament apply to you, spoken by the Apostle Paul and Yahusha, whom the world calls Jesus. The books of the 1611 Bible and further back are the truer books than the false books that you have today. And they added the letter J in there between 1881 and 1894. They added the letter J to the Bible, and they took these apocryphal books out, where the struggles of the Hebrews fighting the enemies, right? The blacks. All right. This is rulership right here that you're never going to see no Hollywood movie about, because like they said, as we read, basically it was just made for them to prosper for themselves and to tell how us black folks are dumb, stupid, lazy, sex-driven, right? Right? Another black knight, noble of the Holy Roman Empire of what? Germany. Remember, Germany is black people. It comes from the name Germanic. The Germanic people are black people. Right? This is one of the royals right here, blacks. Right? It says AD by Charlemagne, who is, I'm not going to read all of this. This is from 1488 to 1523. Right? He was a German scholar and poet. Right? So this is how blacks are not portrayed in Hollywood. So why am I surprised when I hear somebody say, some so-called white person say racist things, right? In 2026, right? This is Notre Dame du Pai, Cathedral, Notre Dame. Remember the first popes, the first bishops, the first priests in the Holy Roman Empire? After it was taken over, the blacks took the over of the Latino or white-looking Rome, ancient Rome in 1294 AD. Don't take my word for it. Do your own independent research, right? This right here, where are the movies about this in Hollywood, right? This is the first, it says the first Christians. And by the way, Christian also means Negro. That's what Christian means. Pope Gregory the First, right? Why is Christian means Negro? Because the Negro created the name Christian, or took the belief of a pagan belief in Antioch, ancient Antioch, right? This is Saint Nick, or Saint Nicholas, the original Saint Nicholas from Turkey, who was black. But you're never gonna hear that or see that in any Hollywood movies. Not from 1920 something till today. Or they probably will shut it down. Ancient Africans of ancient Germany, or they should say the Germans of ancient Germany, right? You'll never hear this in Hollywood movies, right? Moors of Colchis, Armenia. The blacks, I told you, Iberia was taken over by the Catholic Christians. This is the Persian Empire, Armenia, right, was all taken over. But you'll never hear this in Hollywood, no Hollywood movies, because we're going to be mostly portrayed as, slaves or drug dealers or, things like that, right? This is another one that you're never going to hear. Black Africans who ruled Europe from 1711 to 1789. Bust of Antonio Emmanuel Nivanda. Right? You're never gonna know these things, because you're not only are you going to be taught it in school, but you're not going to be taught it in movies, through movies. They'll say little things here and there, and you got to try to put it together, but they're not going to come out and say it. Of course, ancient Egypt was black people, but if you let Hollywood tell it, it's all white people, all ruling all the time. And this is sunny over there. Sunscreen wasn't invented until the 1950s. See the nose, the lips. This was definitely a black people. The deeper you go back, the more blacker it gets. Right? This is definitely, see the nose, the lips. This is definitely a black person that was ancient Egypt. But let Hollywood tell it. Let Hollywood tell these stories right here, right? Black people. This is definitely a black person right here. Ancient Egypt, right? Another black person. Hollywood tells it. Let's say 10 Commandments. Pharaoh was what? What was Pharaoh? Pharaoh was so-called white man. Deuteronomy 28:64. The Lord or Yah shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth. Even what people fit this? What group of people, nation of people in the hundreds of millions fit this description? The Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods or devils, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Black people, what group of people this fits in the hundreds of millions over all of these years? All of these years, what group of people? And has been happening. Moses didn't lie. Moses said you're going to be crushed forever until the Most High come and stop it. All right? Job 30:30, my skin is black upon me. Oh, it doesn't mean skin, it means metaphorically. My skin is black upon me. Daniel and the prophet Daniel and John the apostle said they saw a black man on a throne, basically, in the spirit. Right? This is another person. Says believed to be James Francis Edward Stuart, Prince James III of England. Right? The son of King James, the black person I showed you earlier. But whitewash Hollywood will say that this is the person. His hair goes up just like the real black. His hair goes up like that too. Right? So if you go back to him, I should have got the bigger, wider. See how his hair go up right here? This is the real person of the Holy Roman Empire. And this is the false, whitewash, watered down version of the black person right here. But this is what Hollywood has done. And before Hollywood was created, the Renaissance period, the whitewashing of black images, black kings and black queens, erasing them. So when you think of Hollywood or you think of Netflix, you have to know that Netflix is a major, major part of Hollywood, right? The curses right here. Why are you surprised that someone is saying some hateful, racist comments about innocent death of blacks? Moses, this is what Moses said, and I want you to think hard. What nation of people does this fit? Nationality of people does this fit? Number one, this is the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy. Slavery and captivity having no power to stand against your enemies, sent back to Mizraim, Egypt, exiled in the land of their enemies, scattered among all nations. Scattered among all nations. What group of people? Scattered through slavery, not going because, willingly, like we're going on our own, like, come on, guys, come on down. No, this is in chains and bondage and slavery in the hundreds of millions. Before Christian slavery by the Catholics, it was the Islamic slavery, the sub-Saharan slave trade, the trans-Saharan slave trade, right? Scattered among all nations, a sick and disease-stricken people, at the bottom socially with other races or nations, high above them. What nation of people does that fit? For you to get upset about a so-called white person saying something insensitive, racial joke about innocent of death of a black person, you don't know your history and you don't know who you are. And you don't know how prophecy and scripture suits you. Right? You just so upset. Oh, he said this. The Most High already spoke. Lost the true knowledge of who we are, and we will be called by many scornful nicknames other than Yazarel or Hebrew. In the hundreds of millions, what nation or what group of people fits this description? Moses said, you're going to be scattered in all nations through slavery, persecution, death. They're not going to care about how young you are or how old you are. In the hundreds of millions. In the hundreds of millions over what, 400 or 500 years, 600 years now? In the hundreds of millions. Who could this be possibly talking about? Packed into prisons and jails. So when you think, oh man, I'm so upset about what this person said on Netflix that's controlled and ran and a part of Hollywood, and we already read together who is running, who created Hollywood for who and what purpose to serve? And non-prosperous people. Wall Street and all them other places that I showed you earlier. When black people, we were just minding our business, doing our thing, being rich, being successful. Guess what? It was bombed. History book says it. It was bombed. Black people just mind their business. We just mind our business, and we being successful, dressing very nice, have our own banks, our schools, our own everything, airplanes, cab company, bus companies. Guess what? Bombed. Right? And oppress people by their enemies. If you don't know what oppress means, look it up. Remember, after the Emancipation Proclamation of 1865, policing policies start, KKK, vagrancy laws. Look in the white woman's eye, look at her. You can either be put to death or you go into prison for the rest of your life. Remember that guy Emmett Till, that black brother Emmett Till? They say he whistled at a white woman, and the white woman was like 97 years old, like 10 years ago, and said he didn't really whistle at her. I made it up. That's what she said. Then I don't know if she's still alive, but that's by her own admission. So she made up a lie on him. All right? And oppress people by their enemies. The laws, very religious and members of all other religions, as we black folks are today. Moses was black, speaking to his people, right? Speaking to his people. So when you hear something in 2026 where a racist so-called white guy say something, why does that get black people upset? Why? When you know your history, you know who created Hollywood, right? You know who created Hollywood, for who and for what purpose. Could propaganda be one of them? It already said that how they wanted the image of how they wanted the black person to be portrayed through Hollywood. And it was nothing uplifting, or it was nothing that you could look up to us. No, it was what Moses said. You're going to be treated bad, and you're going to be destroyed till you be crushed forever. Read the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy. And I want you to ask yourself, what group of people could this possibly be applied to? I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of people taken from land, from a nation or nations over there, from the land, and scattered all across the world through slavery, persecution. And you expect to get a fair shake. That's not going to happen and hasn't been happening, right? A non-prosperous, oh, he's in the NBA. Oh, he went to this college. Oh, he went to that. What does that mean? You go to the NBA, you still got to play for them and play by their rules, right? You're under their laws, as we all are, so-called black folk, under their laws, their rules, their constraints, under their policies. This is worldwide too, right? The Most High is over everything. The scripture said the world is given into the hand of the wicked, right? This is Egypt. Blacks, Yazarel. It's called Israel, but Yazar is supposed to be Y-A-H. That's okay. These are the Hebrews right here, which they try to whitewash. And, right here, they try to scrape it down real good so you wouldn't see. But the Yazraels, the Hebrews, were been being enslaved, going all the way thousands of years ago, been being enslaved by the Egyptians, the blacks, the Hamites, the Cushites, our relatives. And these are the Yazraelites right here. See those legs right there? See those legs right there? Which they try to, this is the hieroglyphs right here, which they try to scrape it down and, right? But where's the Hollywood movies about that? Yazraelite slaves in Egypt, right? You see all is in all the hieroglyphs. All the hieroglyphs. Yazraelite slaves working in the field. And Moses said in the hundreds of millions over all of these years, right? Where the Hollywood movies is? Where this is a pharaoh right here. Where's the Hollywood movies for these people right here, right? Any Hollywood movies about these people? These black people, these black rulers? No, but you do have Hollywood, a lot of Hollywood movies like this. Credit, see, the original credit was for slaves. Layaway plan, hedge funds, stocks, bonds were all black slaves, see? But you have movies like this, Slaves, Tooth, on Tuesday, February 5th, 1856, right? But you have a lot of movies about this, because that's what Hollywood wanted to show. Sale of Negroes. And Negroes come from the word Ibu, which comes from the word Hebrew. Right? Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look up, get strong concordance of what these words means. Right? August 14th. August 14th right there. On Thursday, Tuesday, August 14th, Thursday, August 16th. They like doing these type of movies. See? But not these type of movies. Statue of a blackamoor holding a Habsburg coat of arms. Right? They don't like making movies like this. Look, when they made Hollywood, which Netflix is a part of, when they made Hollywood, they wasn't showing none of this right here. Okay? They don't want to make movies about when blacks ruled the world. Right? They didn't want to make no movies like this. Why make movies like this? We can just show them we over them now. Y'all used to be over us. Y'all blacks used to be over us like this person was. See, why make any movies like this? See, Netflix is a part of Hollywood. Why would they want to show black people in royalty and splendor right here? See, this is real. These are coats of arms. These things are really real. Germany right here. This is all from German. The black rulers of German. Right? But Hollywood don't want to show these. They don't want to show a white man bowing down to this black man right here. Why would they want to show movies like this? This is how it used to be. But if you've been with me since I started doing this live, right? If you've been with me since I've been doing this live, I read to you with the early whites, when they created Hollywood, what they wanted to show and what they wanted to portray as black people. So why get upset at somebody in 2026 saying racial stuff and evil stuff about an innocent death of a black person when it used to be like this? Why are you surprised? This is how it used to be. The blacks used to rule over these people right here. So when the roles and the shifts were changed, now it's different now. We don't have to show you in any type of light like this. We will never show you no movie like this where hundreds of thousands of blacks were ruling all over the world. We're never going to do that. And we never, ever going to want to bow down to you. But when the Messiah returned, it's going to happen. See, royalty right here again. Black Africans who ruled Europe from 1711 to 1789. Why? Why they don't make these movies right here? Right? And these are the coins to follow it up. All of the different black coins. There's thousands of black coins right here that were used regularly, right? Thousands of black coins, right? Right? Thousands of black coins. Why don't Hollywood make this? Because we read in the beginning that Hollywood did not have no plan for any black person to be put in any good light. You're just slaves. You're just dumb and stupid from Africa. That's it. And you want our women. But this is royalty right here too. See, they kept talking about on that Netflix thing, oh, you black, and it, the darker you were back then, the higher regard they held you in royalty. Right? This color right here, that this person is right here, was a curse in biblical history. In Bible history, this was a curse, and the Hebrews will be cursed with this color. Right? Read the Old Testament, read your Bibles. Right? Yeah, this is royalty, right? People of color in European art history. Right? These are old paintings right here. Why don't Hollywood do movies about this right here? Right? Why don't they do movies about this ruler right here? When the Moors ruled. Why don't they make a movie called When the Moors Ruled? When black men ruled the world, 8 things the Moors brought to Europe. Right? And by the way, Europe is named after a black Phoenician queen by the name of Europa. Right? So that's where the word Europe come from. Something black. Right? The Europe, when the Moors ruled in Europe. Right? When the Moors ruled in Europe. Where's the movie at for that? 700 years of little known history. Where's the Hollywood big budget film? Where's that movie at for that? When the Moors ruled for 700 years and we don't get taught this in school? I wonder why. I wonder who did the school curriculum. Right? The Moors of Spain. When the black Moors ruled Spain. Right? When the Moors ruled Spain, where's the Hollywood? Where's the Netflix documentaries? Where's the Netflix film on the Moors rulership for over 700 years? And then you have the Holy Roman Empire, right? Where's those movies at from Netflix? Where's the big budget $100 million movie about telling the actual truth? No, because when you go all the way back to the creators and the founders of Hollywood, it was not made to tell any truth about black people at all. So am I surprised that the roast of Kevin Hart was people was just saying racist stuff and you black and this and that? They've been doing it. What's new about it? This is royalty that you're never going to hear. They're never going to talk about this in no books, in school, in movies. Where's Netflix big budget film for the Moors, the black Moors when they ruled? Where's that at? Where's the Hollywood big budget film of when the Moors ruled for over 700 years? Right? Where's that movie at? Who's going to play King James in the movie? But King James in the movie is going to be whitewash, right? Germany again, because Germans are black people by nature. They're called the Germanic people, right? Where are these royal people right here? These royal black people who weren't, right? Maurice again, medieval European depictions of black people in context. I believe this is Maurice right here. Right? Why is anyone upset or surprised that he said something about an innocent black man being killed at a roast? Right? It says people of color, right? Unknown German artists. They're not going to never talk about, but they'll talk about these type of movies. The Nat Turner movie, Birth of a Nation, Django, all the slavery type of movies. Amistad, all these slavery type movies that they love saying, they love showing. After they took us down all over the world, then yes, a lot of the blacks, the Hebrews living in Africa, in Negro land in West Africa, which is called the Slave Coast, did become slaves, right? But it wasn't always just slaves and dumb and stupid, can't talk, highly sexual, you want our women, all that's just the opposite, right? Because the black people, the Moors, had compassion on the European people who were living in caves. They shaved their hair down, they taught them how to talk and taught them things, and in return, the European people out of these caves and mountains and stuff end up killing and coming together against the Moors. All right, but they love telling these stories. Oh man, an Oscar, Academy Award. They love telling these stories after we were taken in as slaves. But they don't. You hardly ever see stories about when, if they would make a movie about themselves being enslaved by the Moors for hundreds of years. They don't make no movies about that. It's only all black people, just all slaves. And guess who was always ruling us? Us white folk, right? But they like doing these slave movies. That's Hollywood. See? All slave type movies. Right? All slave type movies. Even Will Smith got in on it. All slave type movies. Right? But no movies about this. See? Queen Mary Stuart, a black woman right here. See, man? 1647 King James Moore Bible with royal crest inside. You're not going to find, it's going to be very hard to get that King James Bible with a royal crest of the blacks. It has parts of Africa. It has the names and all that other stuff in there, which was all removed by European power. Right? Okay. The Black Kings and Royalty of Cave, Russia. The original Russians were, guess what? They were black. The original Russians were black. There was also a Prussian Empire ruled by black Moors. The black Moors also ruled Russia. The Tartarians ruled Russia and Prussia. There's a mall in Pennsylvania called the King of Prussia Mall. I believe Frederick III, I think was his name, a black Moor, right? I know you probably didn't know that, but there was a Prussian Empire and Russian Empire ruled and controlled by black Moors, by blackamoors. See, Cave, all these places that's in the news today were originally all inhabited by all blacks, right? I can't see what his name, DeBorin, de France, Charles de, I can't see what it said, but France, black Moors again. Where is the Netflix, Hollywood, big budget documentaries on these black rulers right here? Where's the big budget documentaries? No, they busy keep making drug dealer movies and, things like that, selling drugs and all that other stuff. Right? Was Beethoven white? No, he was not white. This is an early image of Beethoven. He was very young, right? But let them tell it. Oh, he was a white man, right? I can't even. Deuteronomy 32:17. This is what we did, black people. They sacrificed unto devils, not to Yah, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods or devils that came newly up from your father's fear, or whom your fathers fear not, of the rock that beget thee. Thou art unmindful and hast forgotten. Forgotten. Go, they have moved me to jealousy. So Yahweh was moved to jealousy because we, the blacks, provoked him, right? Provoked him to anger. And I will move them to jealousy with thee. With those which are not a people, I will provoke them. So, okay. So history of reparation payment. Everyone here, right here, has gotten reparation payments. So what makes you think they're going to make Hollywood and make you or make us as something that's, talk about our history, our real history, not just in slavery, right? Everyone here in this list has gotten money or land. Guess what? From 1865, the Emancipation Proclamation, to the present day, slavery, Jim Crow era, zero. African American black descendants, zero. Zero. Even though laws are made against you, we're going to still call you lazy and stuff. All right. Even though the inventions that we created. All right. This man created the 3D graphics. Right. This woman right here, Sarah Boone, created this black woman, the ironing board in 1882. Dry cleaning invented by a black man named Thomas Jennings. Right. The dry cleaning thing right here that you put on. Where's the movie at for that right there? Where's Hollywood and where's Netflix for this? Where's the big budget? This woman right here created the in 1914, forensic scientist, physical therapist, inventor Bessie V. Blount Griffin was born. Griffin invented a machine that helped amputees feed themselves. Wow, she created something else. She also created the surveillance system too. He created the microphone. This man right here, Dr. James E. West, right? He created digitizing telephone and computer signals. Where the movies at for that? All I hear him talk about is Steve Jobs a lot. For smartphone, 1G, 2G, 3G, and 4G technology. Dr. Jesse E. Russell. Global positioning system. This black lady created GPS right here, right? Where's iPhone, smartphone, and tablet operating designs. Born 1958. She's the one that created it. Right? Not iPhone, but she created the system so you can use it like that. You can swipe up and down. Solar cells, touch tone phones, call waiting, call ID, created by this black woman. Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. Where's Hollywood at? Where's Netflix at? Therapeutic treadmill seat assembly. This black man created it right here. Dr. George L. Cooley. Right? Where's Hollywood at? Where's Netflix at? Let There Be Light. Louis H. Lattimore. I'm sure you all heard about him. Right? Godfather of Rock. Tributes to Chuck Berry. He created rock and roll. He created rock music. He created rock and roll. Right? But it's all taken. Chemotherapy. She created, developer of cancer treatment, chemotherapy, a black woman. Dr. Jane C. Wright. Right? So everything that benefits the world, they don't want to show these things. Where the movies at for this? Where's big budget Hollywood? Netflix. They don't want to show anything like this. Gas mask and traffic signal. This black man created. Dr. Garrett Morgan. Right? Where's the movies at for this? First auto manufacturing company in America and the world. Black founded, owned, and operated by Charles R. Patterson. But they're going to say Henry Ford. Why? Because he's a so-called white man. Right? Melanin is important because it's the most primitive and universal pigment in living organism. Melanin is produced in the pineal gland. Melanin controls all mental and physical body activity. Melanin is an extremely stable molecule and highly resistant to the design by most acids and bases, and is one of the hardest molecules to ever be analyzed. If you do not purify your melanin molecule, you will not heal your body of diseases. Melanin gives black people more superior physical, mental, and spiritual ability. Black melanin is necessary in order for humans to reproduce. Well, it's sold on the black market and stuff like that. If you look at the older books, or you can just ask Google, the slave masters, a lot of them ate the slaves to get the melanin. Cooked them and ate them alive. But that's nothing. They cooked them alive. But that's nothing new. It's in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah said we would get eaten. Right? There's no movie about the black Chinese or the black. There's no movies that Hollywood or Netflix does. These are Moabites in Bible terms. Moabites. These are the black Chinese right here. See? What happened to them? See, this is the black one sitting with the pushed up one as they push up today. What happened to them? Where's the movies at for this right here? To highlight all, see? Black Chinese right here, right? Black Chinese. They're Moabites. Black Chinese. Where are the movies for them? Where's big budget Hollywood now? Right? Japanese right here. Black Japanese. What happened to them? Why don't they do a big movie or documentary on the black Chinese, Japanese, black, or Koreans? Right? Black. These are the Moabites. Alleged Moabites, Amorites, and Ammonites. See, this one is light as the one that they push up that we see today. This one is darker. Right? Okay. The black-headed people of China. See? The black-headed people of these are Chinese people. You ain't gonna see no movie about this. So when we think about Netflix and everything, it's very important to know the past, because I'm gonna close it up soon. It's very important to know the past, right? The Japanese, the black Japanese, right? That's the samurai right there, right? Persian king. This is black. All Persian were originally black people. See, black Japanese right here. That's the samurai right there. See, where's the movies at on them? Where's the movies at? Look at his legs right here. Samurai right there. Black. See, black, black, black. Japanese, black. Right? This is another picture of ancient Chinese. Look, this is the black one sitting with the one that we all see that they push up, that they all look like this, whitewashing. They got rid of these people right here, right? Banished them to the outskirts, sent them to the Americas to work on the sugar plantations and all that other stuff. So where's the budgets at for that? See? Sitting together like it's nothing until things happen, until whitewashing happens. See? Where are the movies at? This is a black Chinese person right here. See? Black Chinese, a black Chinese person. You thought they all were light, right? You thought that all Chinese people were light. Well, the Chinese people are coming out saying, oh, we black. We come from black people. Of course. Ancient Chinese secret. These 14 phenomenal photos of black Chinese. Where's the movies at for that, I wonder? See, another black Chinese. Right? You can't believe it. Looks like just original black, just like a regular black person, right? No, this is a Chinese person that speaks fluent speaks fluent Chinese, right? China and Japan had black kings and dark-skinned black woman queens. This is an old painting right here. But we'll never see that in Hollywood or Netflix, right? All right. The dynamic around whitewashing and black visibility in China generally revolves around a complex of mixed deep sense columnism, historical, I can't even see what that's saying, but basically whitewashing of China. All right. The whitewashing of Koreans with naturally darker skin refers to the practice of digitally. Now they talk about digital stuff. Whitewashing, right? Koreans, dark-skinned Koreans. Let's see. Dark-skinned Koreans. Dark-skinned Koreans. But, we're not never going to see nothing like that. See? Here we go. Other dark-skinned ones. Look. Oh, that's what we always see on the TV right here. But look. What happened to them? Where's the movies at for them? Where's the movies for these Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese? Right? What happened to them? Where's the movies at for that? See? Looks like a black woman. It does look like a black woman, right? But there were black ones, dark ones, and there were light ones. But whitewashing, ethnic cleansing as it's called. See? 1891. These are two black. Korea in the 1900s. Let's see how they look. Some are light and some are dark. You see? 1900s Korea. Some are light, some are dark. Most of them look like they're dark, because they're going to be the ones that's going to go on the boat. Where is that right here? Korea. Oh. See? Korea. It says, where are the dark-skinned Koreans today? Oh, look at all these little girls, Korean girls. You think it's the sun that made them like that? Because look, it's a white woman right there. See? Slave master probably. But look, see? Korean girls. Where's the big budget Netflix or big budget Hollywood movie talking about the black Koreans, the black Chinese, the black other ones? You know, where's this at? Where's this big budget movie at? Right? You got to know who created these things. Look, see what does it say? Dark skinned Koreans. See, look, dark skinned Koreans. Where are they today? What happened? Dark skinned Koreans. All right, these are Chinese people right here. Black people of China, black people of Japan, ancient Japanese, and are the Jomon people, including Paleolithic Japanese, belong. All right, Chinese people, like all of them. When exploring the whitewashing of dark Japanese history, historians, academics, and international journalists focus on how the Japanese government alters or omits records of imperial area. See, all over the world, worldwide. Right? So, I'm going to go back to, let's go to, I'll go to this. I'm going to say, when you think of Netflix or any show channel today, know that it's a part of Hollywood. And when you go into the history, as I did tonight, and the research of Hollywood, Hollywood was created by no one black looking. It was all created by so-called white people, or their biblical name, Edomites. It was so-called created by white people for themselves to prosper and to benefit in the minds of anyone that sees it. It wasn't created for black people to feel good about themselves, but to further put stereotypical things, propaganda as to who you are and what type of people that you are. That was, and we're going to make you look, as we read, worse as possible. Dumb, stupid, can't read, can't write, highly sexual. You want our women, right? It wasn't made to put any black person in any good light. Because remember, the Moors, after they defeated the Moors in 1492, the Moors were black people. In 1492, they took them down. Renaissance period. And now the period of when they created Hollywood. To say, you know what, we already defeated the blacks. We got them. They are under our power now. We got to take it a step further. We got to create something that will further erase the history of the blacks, of everything, their ruling power of everything black. And we're going to be everything that they were in history. Right? That's why most of the superheroes, which is false, are all mostly white. Right? Like 92% of all the false superheroes are all white. Right? So-called saving the world. Right? So I'm not upset. I don't feel no type of way about the whole Kevin Hart thing, because I know that Netflix is a part of Hollywood. And you got to know, when the people created Hollywood, if you're getting here late, go to the beginning of this video, and I read the people that created Hollywood. There was no intentions of black people being in any good light, but to only make us look as worse as possible. So on that note, I will say blessings, thank you, and shalom for checking in with me tonight. Peace and blessings. In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, any black people that are Islamic or Christian, find Yahusha HaMashiach and let him guide you. Blessings and peace.